It is, I've told people when I arrived, and I arrived late because I couldn't come here for the opening. I had a royal command in our diocese, and that I was to be the shadow for someone that you know very well, Desmond Tutu. So for the last week, I have been with the extraordinary, you know? And I told people, it's so nice to be with the ordinary people. There are no police, there are no special dinners, or, conversation and all of these, and schedules and all that kind of stuff. It's so good to be back home here in Pinawa. I remember Pinawa from 7 years ago. The history that, good, as Chief Fontaine would say, good things come of Pinawa. But I do have two little thoughts that came to me as I was here, and particularly from the time that I've spent with the extraordinary. And one of them is, are people really impressed upon the Archbishop Tutu to talk to us about the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in South Africa. And we also mentioned about Canada. And so you have gone through somewhat of that experience too. And in it, it suddenly dawned on me about a great problem that I've heard here over and over again, and that doesn't mean I'm sick and tired of hearing it. It's good to hear it because it has to be said. And that is about your TRC and the difficulties that you have gone through as a people, as a nation. Because we haven't had that opportunity back home. And our people were pressing upon the Archbishop to tell them, should we have it here? And he says, no, I'm an outsider. You really have to make up your minds. And it got me to impress upon him that there's something interesting about indigenous peoples in our Pacific, not just here in Canada, but in the Pacific. And that it is that we have not been violent to our governments. We have not been violent to the outsiders who have come and occupied our lands. We are not a violent people. But in the violence that has happened to us, the anger and the hatred that has become part of us, we don't take it out on the other. Who do we take it out? We take it out on ourselves. We go inward, and the inward goes outward to the only people that are around us. And I heard it earlier about families, extended families, about grandchildren and children. The violence that has been kept in so much has to go somewhere. And it goes out against our own people. It goes against the person we see in the mirror. Because we do not have the opportunity yet to discover what we pray every day in the greatest prayer that the world has. And if you can repeat the words in your mind or say it with me, it is, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. You see, what is God's kingdom? What is it that we're asking that kingdom to come? Is that heavenly blessed where there's angels and all this? I think, and I believe that it is stated from Exodus on, that kingdom is a kingdom of justice and righteousness. It is a kingdom of the distributive justice and restorative righteousness. It isn't about punishment. It isn't about who is right and wrong. It is about the equality, the equity of all of us to share that kingdom. And it isn't out there somewhere out in space. We are praying it to be here on earth, that His will be done here in this paradise, in this New Jerusalem, right here. That's what we're praying every day. We pray it so much that we don't even know what we're praying for. So that distributive justice, that restorative righteousness of His kingdom is what we want to see here on this earth. And until we have that opportunity to be able to put that anger and that hatred from beating ourselves over and over again, we will not have that here on earth. And that's why that Misagula statement is not a statement, it's a declaration. It's a declaration that the people of this land and seas and all indigenous peoples aren't slapping the other in the face. We have come to the recognition that we can no longer hurt ourselves. We can no longer bloody our hands at the mirror that we smash. And we have taken it to ourselves that if we cannot get help from the other, then we must do it ourselves. That's what that declaration is about. It is not about in your face, we don't need you, we're on our own. It's not about separatism. It's about recognition. Recognition that we have the power, the authority as we talk, the authority to take care of ourselves. Because we have the confidence, the knowledge, the wisdom, the healing to heal ourselves because no one seems to want to do it with us. Now, I hope that's not what is going to be occurring because I've been watching those Olympic Games and many of you saw the beginning of them. Some of you might have, but you may be traveling. And it's amazing because the analogy hit me so much. It happens every 4 years and the whole world just tunes into this. The gathering of the nations. Gee, I think I read that somewhere in some book. The gathering of the nations. That the flags will be coming into the city, which they did in London. Yeah? And there's a whole change that people have about the world. They look at the Olympics and it becomes inspirational. I was reading, and I saw it on television, the race with the South African fellow with the carbon fiber legs, Bitsori. Yeah. And he had his first race, okay? But he didn't win. He didn't even place. But the fellow who's a world champion came to him and said, "You're the winner." Because he was so inspiring. And that's what the Olympic spirit is about, yeah? But then you have other scenes where the winners, they're so happy they win, they're jumping down, and all of a sudden they realize that there was a loser. And they go over and shake their hands and so forth. And unlike the new city, the new Jerusalem, the circus folds itself in a few days and that Olympic flame will be taken out and we will go back to being the ordinary. Okay? The inspiration will have to be found somewhere else. But that's not what I find here at Pinawa. That's not what I was told was happening here in Pinawa. You're not the Olympic Village. You're not the Olympic Games. You are the kingdom come. Because I was told they had to turn away people at the gates. 230 people overflowing. Why is that? 7 years ago, it was hard to get people to come. It was hard to keep the youth engaged. I remember this. But now it's overflowing. People want to be here. Why? Why do you want to come here? Because I think you find that there is a tree of healing waters. There is something here that brings you to renewal. There's something here that brings you to say, we can be one people. And you also find in that journey that you're not yet. I hear the different languages and they're beautiful, but it still says like the Olympics, when the U.S. wins, you see them emotionally attached to the song and the flags go up and so forth. They're still tribal. They're still proud of their nations. They are still yet to be one people. And it is true here, and that's nothing to say is wrong. That is on the path to become one people. The path to one people means that we will have difficulties like we had just this other evening, where differences of opinion, not faith, not goals, but difference of opinions of the way that we want to go will be different. And we have to work those ways out, and we have to test ourselves to see, do we have the courage to become one people, to understand the differences that we still will retain. Because if we're in the new city, the evangelist says, as one people, you won't even know who you were. You will be in such awe of what is in front of you, such brightness and brilliance that you won't even recognize the colors or anything else. So on the struggle to become one people, we will have those kinds of bumps and difficulties, but it is the recognition of relationship, and that recognition of relationship is not just to each other, but that religio, the linking of the divine with us, that will prevail if we are to walk upon that road of Emmaus to the New Jerusalem. In response, the Archbishop said to our people about the TRC and about, beating ourselves up. He says, you're still in handcuffs with the other. Now, he didn't say perpetrator or victim. He said with the other. You're still handcuffed to each other. When will you learn, experience, believe, have the authority to know that you can unlock it? You don't need the other person to unlock those shackles, because that other person is not the perpetrator anymore. That other person is a victim. And what you know more than that victim is how to forgive. I said this the last time we were at Lake Elgin. You have become a church of the healing. You are broken, but you're now becoming whole. You have a lesson to teach the communion that is broken. Broken over ideology and not theology. Okay? We have looked at sexuality as theology, and it's not. It's being human. Okay? But we have made it an issue, a political issue. And it's going back to knowing how we can heal each other. And it's this church that I believe has a message to teach the communion around the world about how to be healed and how to do healing. And if you get stuck upon power and authority, rules and regulations and structures, you will forget that. You will lose that gift. You will lose the precious moment that you have divined yourself in on this journey of how to forgive, how to teach forgiveness, how to be healers, and how to heal a broken world, a broken communion. You need to stand up together, both of you, not shackled, the other, not shackled together in handcuffs, but holding hands together. Walking on that road from Emmaus to the New Jerusalem, taking all of us in the communion so that we can understand this experience, the tragedy, but the victory that you have proclaimed. I promised myself I wouldn't get emotional, but the Arch says he's emotional too, and he cries very easily, and I'm just like that. Maybe that's why they paired us together. The only thing is he didn't tell me any very better jokes. And I want to impress upon you now, because no longer do I see you wandering in the wilderness. You're finding your way to be that one people, and that, recognize the road that you have traveled, the story that you have to tell, that you let everyone tell their story and be dignified and identified and hold themselves, even if we've heard that story again. Those are the things that need to be passed to others around our communion. It is just in itself healing. And when you do that, Archbishop Tutu said, when you do take those shackles off, you will know that moment. Because the other person the other will know that they can do it too. And that's really when we will see this light of Canada not getting bronze, not getting gold, but saying to everyone, come with us. Come with us. Because we can help hasten that pathway to the promised land. That we will all be welcome there because of what we have experienced, we share with you. God bless you all.